this is Brian with GreyWolf Towers. Welcome back. So this video I'm going to be using the same items that were used in the previous video, and that was the installation of the CPU and CPU cooler. This one I'm going to do an installation of RAM. Now for this particular board it does have 4 sockets, which if you are able to, I highly recommend that you get a motherboard with 4 slots. It increases your upgradability in the future. If you are on a tight budget, there are some really good boards that have only 2 slots. It just means that if you do want to upgrade your RAM, you have to replace the sticks, or you have to get 1 stick of 16 gigs and then a second stick later, which 1 stick is single channel, which has a performance deficit when you're using Ryzen especially. It will affect Intel CPUs, but not quite as bad. For this, the motherboard has 4 sockets or slots, and we're going to do a dual channel kit. Now this is an 8GB kit. These are roughly $30, maybe $35, and I will see about doing a link in the description to this RAM. It is available on Amazon, and at the time of my purchase I believe it was like $28, and I think it's gone up to $30, but either way I'll link it down below and you can see their updated prices. With everything going in and out of stock, prices have been fluctuating so badly. So this is a dual channel kit, which means 2 sticks. It's a 4 socket motherboard, however it only runs dual channel. In order to do dual channel you need 2 identical sticks in the 2 identical slots. So for that they have, on this board it's red and black. On some boards it's gray and black, or red and gray, or just gray, or just black, or yellow and black. I mean, I've seen lots of different colors, red and green. So there's lots of different colors. The same color will almost always be the same channel unless they're all black, for instance, in which case you'll have to rely on the documentation with the motherboard or with the motherboard itself. It usually has, like on here, it's got a little readout that says DIMM 4, DIMM 2, DIMM 3, DIMM 1. And what that means is that the furthest from the CPU is going to be DIMM 1. The one not closest but next to that one is going to be DIMM 2. And then the others are 3 and 4. And so you want to put it into DIMM 1 and DIMM 2 for it to be dual channel. And then DIMM 3 and DIMM 4 at the same time for dual channel. If you only do 3 of them, you'll still get single channel performance, so you always want to do it in pairs if you're able to. Now, for simplicity of installation, I'm going to do it DIMM 2, then DIMM 1. So all it is you make sure that the little bracket ends are popped open. You can do all 4, or you can do just the 2 that you're installing. It won't make a difference, because if there's no RAM in it, having it open won't hurt it. It won't cause anything to be different. And then all you do is you line up the little notch in the RAM, right here, with the notch in the DIMM slot on the motherboard. And so once that's in place like so, you just need your thumbs and a solid surface underneath, and all you do is you click. Oh, there we go. Got a solid click. And you want to make sure that it's closed all the way. If it's not closed all the way, then it may wiggle its way loose over time, and that will cause problems like blue screens, or possibly even shorting out components like the motherboard. It could lead to shorting out not only the motherboard or slots, but also the RAM sticks themselves. So you always want to make sure that you make sure those clasps are tight and in place. And then we're just going to do the second socket here. There we go. And so now it skips one on either side there, and that's the dual channel. This is dual channel for channel 1, and then there's channel 2 that's dual channel as well. And it's using DIMM 1 and DIMM 3 basically, because it goes 1, 3, 2, 4. So it's essentially the first and third is the dual channel. And I say that's 90–95% of all motherboards are separated this way, where it's the second from the CPU and then the last from the CPU is a single channel group, and then the other 2 are the other group. And so that is our installation of DDR4 RAM into the motherboard. This happens to be a B350 motherboard. However, this applies to any RAM pretty much since the 80s or 90s. It's all been essentially the same. The retention mechanism is these clasps, and it almost always has been. And DDR1, DDR2, DDR3, DDR4, they all use the same type of retention. The only real difference is the little notch is in a different location on the different RAM. Some is more centered, some is more to one side, and if I remember correctly, it's either SD-RAM, which was before DDR, or else it was the first DDR had 2 notches. And they will not fit into motherboards that use different RAMs, so you cannot fit a DDR3 stick of RAM into a DDR4 motherboard. The only exception would be some rare motherboards that are from a time period immediately after the release of a new type of memory. Like for instance, when DDR4 first came out, there were some motherboards that had 4 slots, but 2 were for DDR4 and 2 were for DDR3. You could not mix. You had to have 1 or 2 sticks of DDR3 or 1 or 2 sticks of DDR4. You could not mix DDR3 and DDR4 at the same time. So there is that little bit of information to keep in mind if you get an older motherboard, but I haven't seen any of that since like 2014-ish, 2013, 2015, somewhere in that time frame. So that is our installation of RAM into our motherboard, which again is the B350 Gaming 3 from Gigabyte. Just an older motherboard. You can usually pick these up for about $60 online, sometimes less. And our Ryzen 3 2300X CPU with a stealth cooler. And then we now have 8 gigabytes dual channel DDR4 2400 RAM installed. And this is CL17 DDR4, so it's a bit higher of a latency, but that won't impact too much. In some games you may lose a very small margin of performance, like 1 FPS, but you're not going to see much of a difference. I have even seen the 2400G, for instance, use 2400 RAM, 2400 megahertz RAM, and perform almost the same as if it had 3000 megahertz RAM. It's a little bit different with the CL rating. You get a little bit better performance with a lower CL or cast latency, and then with the higher megahertz rating you'll get better performance, but it's going to be marginal. 2400 megahertz and 2666 megahertz tend to be around the same performance for the most part. You're not going to see much of a difference, and they both perform fairly well for gaming in both Intel and AMD systems. The main difference would be if you were using the Ryzen integrated graphics Vega 3, 8, and 11. Those do have a higher, because they're integrated, they depend completely on the RAM. And so the faster the RAM, the faster the video card inside it is able to, or APU is what it's really known as, will function. And that's another video down the road. But anyway, that is the installation of our dual channel 8 gigabyte kit of DDR4 2400 megahertz RAM. If you enjoyed this video, found it educational, informative, or entertaining, make sure you hit the like button down below. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, which I should be putting around this area here, and that will allow you to keep up to date on our new video posts as well as our community posts that we make on as regular a basis as we can. And if you have any questions about myself, the channel, the products used, or the process, please feel free to ask them in the comments section down below. And thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you all have a great day. Bye for now.